So.
Oh, is she? Maybe she's in the wrong. Is there another? You know what? Off in the way, there might be more than one meeting that started. Who knows?
Shall I just forward her that, Mol? If you just forward her.
Yeah, I'll just do that. So it's at the top of her.
How are you, Tom?
I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, good. Have you managed to sell your house yet in Hastings?
Well, we've already got a buyer. It's just finding something else to go to that doesn't get snapped up within about 2 nanoseconds of it going on the market. You know.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That's the worst part. Yeah. Indeed.
We've kind of resorted to going for an auction property that didn't sell at auction, so we're trying to negotiate a deal.
Oh, wow.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Poppy's just coming in.
Great.
She's just there. I've admitted her. Can you hear us, Poppy?
Hello. Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Sorry about that. I clicked on a different link. I got a bit confused, but
no problem at all. No problem at all. Hi, Boyd. I see you're here as well. Fantastic.
Hello.
Hi, Boyd.
Great. Good to see you. Well, I'm recording this. I hope that's okay with everybody. Just so we have a little bit, so you can go back to it and look at it later and just think, oh, well, what was it we talked about, and capture things. So we're scheduled just for about an hour today, if that's okay. Just a quick catch up, and yeah, wonderful to see you all. And I did manage to catch your video recording of the session on the 27th. Which looked like a lot of fun and like a productive session. I know that Molly was unfortunately not well, but all the same, I think you came out of that with some good stuff to go forward with, and really great sets. Boyd, fantastic looking designs for the environment. Really good. And I think you kind of seem to have a sort of a script that's kind of loosely coming together. I mean, we can discuss some things around that and how you want to sort of develop that and how much you want to stick to script, or those sorts of things, where you feel like there's more movement to play around with things. I noticed that a couple of things about you want to talk to me about audience participation, or what role an audience might play or feature in the piece, so we can talk about that as well. But perhaps it might be best just to hand over to you, to Guttersnipe Theatre and to Boyd, and just to capture a little bit what you've been doing and where you want to go from here, and just to talk about what's working, what's not working, what you want to introduce.
Sure. Well, we caught Molly up actually just this morning before the meeting. Apologies for my background noise. There's some work going on. But we caught Molly up, Poppy and I, and we showed her some photos and some little videos that I'd taken during our session with Boyd. And we stepped through the storyboard that we'd sent Boyd, with which he'd made all these amazing backgrounds and things that we were using in the last session. And in that storyboard, we'd written up any things that had popped up during the session that were questions more for you, Paul, which probably you heard in the video.
Yeah.
But the main one that popped up first, because Poppy and I were so happy with what Boyd had come up with. And it was figuring out how we were going to enter, were we going to fly in, were we going to come through trapdoors, and all these silly fun stuff. But then we were thinking about kind of cutting to the judges, because obviously the concept is this teen talent show. And so with cutting to the judges, we were thinking that it would be multi-rolling. So we'd probably just put on some wigs and different costumes. But then we were toying with this idea of who's the third judge. We thought maybe it was Boyd, but he's going to have loads to be doing, so definitely not. And then we were like, maybe it's Paul, maybe it's an audience member. So we were kind of throwing it open, and it was the general consensus. I think what Boyd said was that if it were to be an audience member, if we were having that participation, they would have to be kind of pre-warned, because they'd need to have certain links and potentially a background. So I guess that was where we wanted to chat to you about, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, I'm sure and I watched the video, so I watched it this morning, the whole recording, so it's really helpful just to sort of catch up on it all. So I feel as I'm on the same page now. I mean, there's different ways to approach it, as you were talking about, and Boyd was suggesting. I mean, you may even want to think. I mean, is it a possibility? Have you thought about? Is there a pre-recorded judge, perhaps, that I don't know? There's just says a few lines or repeats the same line. The same. One might be euphoric, and one might be kind of miserable, and one might be, they could almost play on that kind of automated answer they might have. You could even do that. So it could be they just keep saying the same thing, and what use are they anyway? It almost sort of makes a whole sort of absurdness of the whole thing. Sort of if it's recorded, perhaps you could get that quite nicely done in a way that it's just sort of almost machine-like, almost like one of Boyd's AI bots in there somehow. It's that sort of throwing that element into it, of like constantly saying, yeah, you sound like all the cats have deserted everywhere in the world now, and this is the worst song I've ever heard in my life. That sort of thing. Or it might be something, gushing, it's so wonderful.
We were thinking that, because they are always the archetypes. Normally on X Factor you have the people's princess, the young woman, you have the mean one, you might have the Irish one, and that's just those are the judges. And so we were thinking that when it zooms in on them initially, they can just be like, I'm the mean one, I'm the Irish one, whatever it is. But I guess for us it was, do we want to have the challenge of quickly multi-rolling? But yes, we're also very happy to maybe have the main judge as this pre-recorded person. And that also brings us on to what we're going to be doing between now and our next session. We hope we're going to set up the green screen at some point and just pre-record some bits, because we have a fourth performer in the show who can come in and do some bits and pieces. So hopefully that will give Boyd some more stuff to play with, and we can weave that in throughout.
Yeah, I mean, it's just down to logistics in some ways. That you kind of, on the one hand, it's nice to have lots of different performers in and things, but that might get very complex. I don't know what do you think, Boyd? I mean, it can get, if there's so many people, it might also.
Yeah, I like the idea. I mean, I was sort of tickled by the double casting. I thought so. There's a lot of, I think, potential just fun for an audience there. And if we wanted to go in that route at all, we could pre-record so that we have kind of a baseline, and then you can kind of feel out by the time we get to performance if you want to do those roles live or if you just want to cut to the pre-recorded version. In terms of bringing in other players, it's not a problem to bring a couple more in. It's just for my system, we would need to give them a dedicated link and make sure that the green screen's in place and everything so they show up right. My only concern was if we're on the day of the show inviting someone to participate, they'll likely have technical issues trying to get into the space. So that would have to be kind of pre-done, unless anyone can think of a different way to do that.
I think my general feeling is that it's probably not worth it, but because we have this fourth performer at our disposal who's willing to do some stuff in front of a green screen pre-recorded, and Boyd, I was showing Molly little videos and photos of when you were in the mirror at the end and we were zooming in on your head laughing. And things like that. I know our performer Jack would love to do that stuff, so we can capture him doing like a maniacal laugh. Maniacal, is that the word? And doing some like catchphrases, and then give them to you to play around with. But I think actually getting an audience member in on the day, I think it's going to be more hassle for that audience member than it would probably be worth. I don't know.
I think they need to be prepared, don't they? If there is an audience member in, it certainly could bring somebody in, but they need to be prepped in advance.
It's almost like the joy of bringing an audience member in on a performance is that the element of improv, and I'm like, if we're not having that, I'm almost agree with you, Grace. I feel like Poppy, we sort of talked about this before, didn't we? Like, it's almost like the negatives outweigh the benefits, because then if we're prepping it, it's not so fun for the rest of the audience because it's obviously prepped, and it's not so fun for them either.
But I don't. Sorry, go ahead, Boyd. Yeah.
I was just I think we talked about this, but I've completely forgotten. For the actual presentation, are we streaming to like YouTube, or is this going to be inside of a Zoom invited audience? What's the plan for the actual presentation?
Silence. No one knows.
It's Zoom and another bit of software. It's not YouTube, is it? I don't think.
Sorry, are we talking about what we're filming or the actual?
Well,
For-
thinking about, I think what Boyd's asking is how are we gonna? What kind of? We're talking about an audience. We're talking about kind of like a final production of this piece. Who do we put it out to, and how? And are we comfortable? Do we host an audience in Zoom? Do we host an audience, which we certainly can do? Zoom can have many participants, or do we stream it straight out onto YouTube and just give a kind of feed for an audience to look at? It's a bit of marketing around it. I mean, it depends on a little bit on your program, on our program, and how we can maybe pull a little bit of an interesting audience together for you.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely do marketing. We're marketing the show at the moment, so we can market that alongside our show, really. I suppose maybe Zoom would work best, girls. Over, I mean, it's unlikely, but I have had sort of friends who've had a bit of problems with completely, open invites and things like that. So maybe we could set up a thing of sort of, we can set up an email address and people can email that for the Zoom link and the password, that sort of vibe.
I think if you've got the network and you've got some way of managing that, I'll certainly help with our website, and we can try, in advance, if we work towards that date and start to think about what the strategy is for gathering the audience, and if it ties in with one of your current productions you're doing, that's great, and definitely. But I think it sounds like Zoom is the way to go. I think probably in that respect. I think that's the way I would.
I've enjoyed presenting within Zoom the most in all the different formats I've done. It does give a little bit more possibility for keeping track of what your audience is doing and thinking, and that's so I'm happy going forward with Zoom.
One of the interesting things about Zoom is when we did this with one of our recent residency groups, a company called Creation Theatre in Oxford, who we work with, and they've been doing a lot of their productions out onto Zoom, and bringing Zoom back into the production as a kind of feed. So you were talking about audiences and about having have this sense of audience of clapping or whatever. And actually, I thought. The audience. I was listening to some X Factor clips, and audiences tend to do three things: they either cheer, or they sort of jeer, or they sort of they're shocked or something. And there's not many expressions the audience have, but you can almost have that as a kind of sound sample. And you could take the audience, literally could be your Zoom audience, and feed it in as a kind of backdrop, just as a kind of line out. I guess you could take it back as a feed into your mix. Boyd, what do you think? I mean, it could almost just sit behind them. Almost, they could be keyed onto for certain clips. It might just be the audience all on Zoom in the little boxes all behind you or something.
There's a good reference for that. It's happening quite a few shows, but Ant and Dec have a big Saturday night show, and they did Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway, and they did that. They had a sort of really big collage, and then they had little digital Ant and Dec's running around within it. It was quite fun. But yeah, that would be really cool if that's possible.
We're bringing them in.
It is. So it's just a matter of for the audience, rather than me going presenting the show as sharing a screen, it would be pinning my video. That way I would have access to the grid, and then I can capture that grid and then play that back within the feed. There's actually my original version of the software actually extracted windows from Zoom, and that's how we did it originally. So, and now that Zoom has the together mode, we can also, they'll be seen within a virtual stadium, which could be fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, as long as
Fun.
you could probably just have another kind of what's the word for it? A sort of a secondary Zoom account linked into the performance, so you could maybe just feed that particular output through to your feed or something like that, Boyd, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there's a way. Do you know what I mean? So it's not
I'm
your
not
own
following.
feed. It's another, so if you've got somebody else who's on Zoom and their
Mhm.
their particular view that they're having is together mode, whatever mode, they can just pipe their screen, almost NDI, pipe the whole screen straight into your mix, I guess. You could just pull it in as a video source.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be just as easy for me to capture directly from Zoom the together mode as well. I was just thinking in terms of if you're sharing screen, everyone has to see that view, I think, right? You can't unselect it, or can you?
I don't think you can. I think you can like minimize it, but it's still there, I think.
Yeah.
It's a minor detail. It's a matter of just saying, okay, make sure you pin, this screen so that you can see the main show.
I might be wrong, but I had to do a lot of this for education in lockdown. I think you can pin it, and as the host, be like, "This is pinned for everyone." I think.
Yeah.
It's like Spotlight, or that's what it's called in Teams, isn't it? There's a
Right.
version. I don't know what the actual phrase is, but like that function, I think, is in Zoom.
Either way, I think it's doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you output is it kind of the third camera, Boyd, I think it's just goes straight to pin anyway. It's like a sharing screen thing, isn't it? So it should be all right. You could share a screen.
Yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun. We can.
It's a technicality. I'm sure we can figure it out.
Yeah.
I think Zoom as a format is something that our networks, for example, are very familiar with watching shows on. It's like I maybe watched one live YouTube stream, but it was more of a seminar thing. Whereas when it comes to shows, a lot of our peer companies have got their Arts Council grants to make a show on Zoom specifically, and using that software. So I think that'll be a good way for us to build our audience. And Paul, we might have said, but we got our bigger Arts Council grant. I think I shared it with Boyd last time, and I shared it on the video, but we got our more money coming in. So we've got a whole marketing campaign that's being launched with the help of like a social media consultant and stuff, and that's happening.
Oh, that's great.
So we should be able to build a really nice audience for the Zoom show if we just start calling it that and making it a thing. And yeah.
Wonderful. So is that in any way connected with this? Is it as a kind of ongoing activity or a connected activity to what you're doing with the residency?
Yeah, Poppy, do you want to say?
Yeah, so it's basically like an extended version of what we're playing with you. So it's just doing a live version of basically the same universe. I just wanted to ask a question about whether it would be useful or not, just because I'm going to be having a meeting with someone who's designing a poster for us in the next few days, but if it would be useful just to get almost like a little poster that we can both sort of share around, just to make it like, this is a show, this is the time, and have that be able to be sent around, kind of just plant that seed sort of sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Yes, indeed. I mean, it'll be your final practice session is what we've planned in the schedule. But I don't know whether you wanted. I know there was some discussion about some date changes or something, or whether you wanted to do an additional date for the final version. I'm not sure. So, but yeah, by all means, it's just depending on when you want to do what day you want, the exact day we want to do it. What day works for, and what works for everybody else, of course.
Yeah. I think that'd be wonderful to have in the mix, though, Poppy. For example, we're making like an e-flyer and to have at the bottom of our email and stuff. We can just say like digital sharing on this date, live show on this day, and make it all kind of one coherent project that includes the Zoom show as well. So I think that's a really good shout.
Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll look at those. We'll look at dates later on, shall we? Is that okay? We'll have a quick look at that. Think about dates and think about the technicalities of bringing in audiences, Zoom audiences. We'll come back to that one as well. That's sort of technical. I'll have to perhaps Boyd, we can get together at some other point and just talk about how that best work and what is the best solution for that.
Sorry, just to jump in and interject there. Obviously, in Zoom, there are chat features and emoji features. So if at a certain point we were to break away and it's like, we've heard what the judges have to say and they have their stock one-liners, and then we break away to these little, you know, little faces in their boxes, and then maybe we can like see what they're saying, you know. Just a moment where there's that kind of liveness of interaction, something like that.
Yeah, the sort of Roman yay or nay.
Yeah,
The cool thing is since, you know, when we're watching in Zoom, everyone will have access to see that throughout. So we don't even have to necessarily switch to a different view. The chat can be up, and you can use that and ask the audience for feedback, and you can react to it as it's happening.
I love that. I think that would be great. And because some of the characters are quite like loathable and some of them are more likable, at different moments we can do it, zoom in on different characters and get the audience to respond or whatever. That'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So it sounds like there's lots of ideas to explore. Well, particularly the two ideas about audience participation and the judges and how you want to incorporate that and some those sorts of things. We've got another session coming up at the end of August, I think, haven't we? Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about some other things first? I don't want to jump in just yet. Maybe useful if there's other aspects of the last session you want to talk about first, or the script.
Yeah, I suppose I can continue and just fill you in, Paul, on what we were discussing with Molly as well this morning.
Okay, yeah, good.
And yeah, so we discussed with Boyd, one of the things that also came up was to do with the live performance of the girl band. The fact that with the minor delay, and we discussed this in the first session, it makes lip syncing or, you know, singing along to a track a bit of a challenge at this stage. So Boyd proposed that, and we'll do this when we have our green screen pre-recording session, Boyd proposed that we would have our heads miming the words along to the track pre-recorded, and then our bodies live would just be dancing and going through different virtual environments. So that was us kind of troubleshooting and sort of solving that problem during the session. Yeah. And does that still seem like a good solution, Boyd?
I think so. I mean, in some ways, on reflection, a lot of these things, they're never going to be absolutely perfect. It's not, working online is not a perfect environment, and certainly synchronicity is near impossible. So I think in some ways, the more we try and achieve that kind of synchronous time, video and audio, the less authenticity it suddenly has as well, to some extent. I think there's a certain amount of authenticity in the sort of asynchronous arrangement of elements within the piece somehow. So I'm not in some, and it's a lot of audiences, feedback from audiences actually, they quite enjoy aspects of digital online theatre when it doesn't quite work, when it doesn't quite, they actually celebrate those moments rather than cringe at them and think, oh no, it didn't. You know, it's almost like a kind of like I guess adds an element of liveness that is not that is not quite live, but it means that it is very much happening now, as opposed to the question in the back of someone's mind thinking, is this recorded? Is this live? You know, we're looking at a screen, and I think you have to sort of weigh that up really and think, well, to some extent we've got to go with it. To some extent, it's just we want a bit more, or it's not quite right, or you know.
But I think, I think it definitely will add to it. When we were practicing the slaps and the little scenes and things like that, I mean, audiences always relish when things go wrong, and I think it's very much in keeping with the universe that we're making. But there was a little question that popped up for us, Boyd, as well, when we were discussing before, is that when it's the live show and, you know, we're kind of surfing through the intergalactic sand dunes and there's the kaleidoscope rave scenes behind us, will that be kind of improvised for us and you, in terms of, are you just going to kind of throw visuals to us during that live performance section where we're doing our song and we'll just respond in the moment, or will that be something that's more rehearsed? We're kind of happy either way, but I was intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was originally thinking it would be more or less programmed. You would know it's coming up. I'm happy to surprise you as well. That's what I typically do with my improvisers. But I think because it's a song, I'd want to make sure that the visuals match kind of what you want. So I think it would be important to kind of go through and make sure that the sort of music journey makes a kind of sense, at least aesthetically. It doesn't have to be a narrative or anything, but so I mean, I can play with like color and light and things, you know, on the fly, but I think if the main content kind of matches something everyone feels good with, that would be, I think, a safer way to go.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I think it will also be really satisfying for us because we like this idea of working not against, but with the asynchronicity, if that's the word. So for example, when we're on the sand dunes, we can do a kind of loose choreography that isn't exactly to the beat of the music, but is more loose and kind of vibing with that particular, you know, aesthetic. And then when it switches to another one, we'll do something else that's still quite loose and not on the beat, but will be fun, and we'll like adapt as we go through the kind of virtual journey.
And
I think.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead, Molly.
I was going to say we bring what you were saying, Grace, is the thing of like, are we reacting to our environment? Like we can bring that to our choreography. Like if we want to feel like we're literally being dropped into a new environment, like yeah, we can play with that B-movie thing, can't we? In our we're planning to have like a choreography session away from our sessions, just so that we come prepared, and we're going to do that before the 23rd. So yeah,
I think the thing is, I was just going to say is, I mean, obviously, I think in some ways it's nice to be as rehearsed as you possibly can, so you know what's coming, but at the same time, be prepared for something that is out of our control. You know, so it's like it could be a performance, and all of a sudden somebody's network someone freezes up, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing we can't plan for that or plan around that. And it's not like we can stop and say, "Oh, let's do it again." We can't, just have to go with it. Just go with it and see what you do with it. And in some ways, you've got to treat the whole thing a bit like that, really.
Yeah.
If it doesn't quite work, if the slap is the wrong way around, then it's like, you know, it might just be, well, which side of your face is it that I'm hitting? You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, it just got to go with it, really, because you can't get it absolutely right. And
I also think it would be really that kind of essence, sorry, my door is slamming, that will influence also the audience that we market to, and how we market it. You know, it's like, this is an experiment, this is a sharing, and it would be amazing to get in some of our people who have done their own Zoom shows, and some of our people who are more interested in the technical side, and just to get them to see the software we're working with all the kind of asynchronicities and all the teething problems that we're experiencing, and just being like, what does that add? And get some kind of live feedback. I think that's really exciting. I think people will really enjoy that.
We should prep a monkey survey or something.
Yeah, a little survey.
Sure. Yeah.
So we'll like that as well. Sorry, I'm just going to close my door.
No problem. Yeah, no, it's good. I think there's some really good stuff. I mean, we'll talk a little bit in a moment. I don't know if I just want to make sure we have enough time, but I do want to talk a few little technical things I want to talk about, and maybe Tom can also help with some of ironing out some of those little things as well. I noticed in the recording there were some little technical issues you were trying to resolve in the beginning, and I think there's some sort of tests we can do for that. So maybe I'll just do it briefly now, because I made a few quick notes about it. But I think it would be good if the three of you could just run a little speed test on your internet connections. And there's a good website. It's called speedtest.net. If you just go to that website and do a quick, it'll just tell you what your network connection is like. And if you're not getting what you should be getting from your provider, you can phone them up and tell them it's dreadful and I'm not getting what I should be getting. And they will do something about it. They're a bit cheeky. They tend to take away bandwidth if it's not being used, and you just have to sort of, you know, it seems to work. Other than that, switch your router on and off as well. That's always a good one too. It clears it. It clears the cache.
Molly called them up, and apparently it's been much better since. That's what you were saying.
Yeah. It can happen. They can actually give you a bit more bandwidth, or they can look at the problems.
I did it a while ago, and they did that. I can't remember the technical term, but you know, where they split it into 2.4 and 5, I know it's really
Oh yeah.
basic thing, but
Okay.
it does work. Yeah, and mine's much, but I think I'm on like, I'm just testing it now. I'm on about 60 for downloads.
That's good. Yeah, that should be fine. And
But
up is the big one. Up is your kind of important one, really.
Up is 16.
That's good. That's very good. Yeah, it's good enough.
But that's only after me badgering them.
Yeah. That'll do. That sort of speed is fine. Sometimes it can be suddenly incredibly low. The other thing, of course, to check when you're doing the sessions, if there's anybody in the house who you're sharing the network with, if they're not watching a Netflix movie at that time, or playing online games or whatever else they could be doing, but it might be. So it just might be worth doing a quick check and saying, "Hey guys, do you mind if you just give me some network for the next couple of hours, if you can?" And the other thing was, so run a speed test, restart your routers, get onto your provider, and just check no one else is using your network. And I think hopefully that might resolve some of those issues. And of course, make sure you're using your Ethernet cable. And just be absolutely sure you are on the Ethernet. You could switch off your Wi-Fi just to make sure you're on the Ethernet, because sometimes it could still be using the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet hasn't quite. And if the Ethernet's not connected properly, then we need to just double check that it's a dynamic connection. It should be normally dynamic, what's called DCHP, and that should give you the best network connection you've got. Otherwise, you might be on Wi-Fi and you didn't know you were.
The thing I just said, Paul, about the 2.4 and that's actually pointless, isn't it? Because that's Wi-Fi. So
it is Wi-Fi, I think. Yeah, that's right.
So ignore that, girls. Just call them up.
It's not good enough. just if it's the speed, you should be getting certain speeds on any provider, and just double check you're getting what you're paying for. Good. I think that was only technical. Another quick one I noticed about lights, Grace. Just a thought about lights. Either lower your light. Your light may have been quite high, I'm not sure, but maybe lower it a little bit. Or what you can do is you can also bounce it off the ceiling. If you have a white ceiling, try bouncing it off the ceiling. It sometimes diffuses it. So turn up as full as you can go, and bounce it off a white wall. It does sometimes diffuse it quite. I think your problem is your light's quite close to you.
Yes, it was.
Maybe, yeah. So it's very intense light when it's close up. So if you can bounce it off a wall, if you can't pull it back far enough, and if you can get little spotlights on you as a person, that might be best. But the white light, cold light should be good for your chroma key for the backdrop.
I think I'll definitely try the ceiling, because I have a white ceiling, and it was just a bit light and it was a bit high. So I'm going to experiment with it like half an hour before I'm on next time. Yeah. I think the ceiling might be a good shout.
It's more about the diffusion of the light, and you want to get a good light all around you. And then if you want to get a little bit of a small sort of spotlight, a little lamp or something, just for your face, you can do that as well. But the idea is just to diffuse the light as much in the space. That's why I think Poppy was getting better light, because she had a sort of a combination of daylight and the sort of the white fluorescence was giving a nice diffusion of light around the whole space. So it was working quite well for her. And the very final thing about the technical thing, I think all three of you need to calibrate your cameras. When I make calibrate, the three cameras, all cameras must be the same height, same angle, and the same distance from your green screen. If you can calibrate that between the three of you before the sessions start, or just to sort of say, this is what I've just to communicate with yourselves what your positioning of your camera is. That way, you'll all be at a similar kind of perspective and angle. So it's either straight on at eye level, or a little bit above, or perhaps just a little bit above eye level, down a little bit, get that angle, and then you'll all be on the same stage, looking like you're on the same stage. Otherwise, someone might be looking a bit down, someone's looking a bit up, and it'll be a bit out of, it's a bit.
Let's definitely troubleshoot that in a session, girls, because I know the next one is at 10 a.m. So if we may not do it before, but we could just do it the day before, and then just get a bit of LX tape and like mark it out on our floors and on our doors like you would in the theatre, and it will just be, we'll just know for the next times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you remind me the model of the camera?
It is the Logitech C390E, I think it is. C390. Is that what it is? Do you know what it is, Tom? Top of your head? C390E, I think it is.
Okay, cool.
I'm using it right now. I should know.
930.
Device settings, I can tell you. It's my 930, exactly. It's my Logitech webcam C930E.
Cool. So it's 1080p. Because yeah, I was wondering because it seemed like, I mean, the resolution difference in the cameras was still was rough. And I think it could be bandwidth. It could be a lot of different things.
It might be, Boyd, that they're also using camera settings, and maybe some are zoomed in and some are not, and it's a digital zoom. So I kind of, if you can help it, I wouldn't use the camera settings for the zoom function because it's digital zoom. So whilst you zoom, but you lose quality at the same time. So that may be why.
I was zoomed in the last time just to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was zoomed in and then I had the weird light. So I think.
Yeah, it's better to be bigger, and then I'll crop in. That'll give us the best quality we can get.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let Boyd do the cropping bit. If you can get as much of the green screen around you, brilliant. If you can try and get your feet on there as well, that's great. Some of your feet gets cut off sometimes. If you can, that'd be brilliant. Then let Boyd do the rest. If there's a bit of if it's not green on the sides, Boyd can crop or just those little bits. But the important thing is to try and get your head to toe in green if you can.
Mm-hmm. Cool,
yeah, right. Technical questions and comments over, I think. Yeah. Calibrate the cameras. Calibrate all your positioning.
Well, I would say, girls, it'd probably be best on the day. Makes sense because it's all the tech. We don't want to do like a half setup. We want to be like full. So if we're like half an hour before we're actually just calibrating, that'd be great, wouldn't it? And then get some FX tape.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great stuff. Excellent. So, did you want to talk about dates? And maybe dates will be helpful for us to talk about with your final performance. So, what I'll do is I'll quickly share my screen. Put a screen here.
I'll just be 2 seconds. I'm just going to close my window because there's a lot of traffic. It's quite noisy.
No problem.
1 moment.
My doors are slamming. 1 second.
Right, I think I've got this date. Here we are. Let me just share this screen. There we go. This one. There we are. So those are the dates we've got at the moment. I've added something. So I know the 23rd of August, which is now towards the end of this month. You talked about doing much because I think you wanted to fit another session in, but unfortunately, timing-wise, I don't think we could all do it. I think Boyd wasn't available, and I think Molly or Poppy wasn't available. So you decided then to go with it. You'd like to try and do a longer session on the 23rd. Is that right?
If possible, yeah. We were suggesting maybe an extra half an hour or
Yeah, that in theory is fine with me. I just need to warn you. I said this in the email. My job technically starts on the 23rd, but I'm waiting for a visa, which may not happen till later. So I don't know for sure if there's going to be any meetings for me on the 23rd. Unfortunately, the HR department's not been the best at communicating with me, so I'm still. So I think right now we can assume 23rd is okay, but I'll let you know as soon as I hear back if it has to change. If it does, how's the rest of that week for everybody?
The rest of that week for me is
23rd is a Monday.
Week commencing 23rd.
I'm unfortunately working most of that week, except the Monday, which I've booked off.
Okay.
So it's not looking great, I'm afraid, for me.
Yeah, that's the same as me. However, we have a lot of flexibility, don't we, Molly and Pops, on the whole of the Monday up until the evening is free, because what we were saying is that on the 23rd, given that our green screens will be all set up, we'll do some judges stuff, we'll take some photos, one of us will get the other performer around and we'll do the pre-recorded stuff. We were going to do that in the afternoon. However, Boyd, if you need to slot some things around, I reckon we can find 2.5 hours at some point, even if it's more in the evening, if that works for you.
Yeah, great. I'm sure my evening on Monday will be completely open. So if we're flexible that way, then that would be great.
Yeah, that day, that I speak for myself, but I think that was the case for you, Molly and Poppy, wasn't it? The whole day's kind of
That's a sugar fixed day and doesn't really matter where it goes. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm also free to join you and just sit in on that session on the Zoom on the 23rd, and anytime. I'm free currently all day. So that's great. That's great.
Cool.
And then the following session is actually it's just a week later on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
On the 31st. I mean, we could also, again, I'm free all that afternoon. I mean, you could start a bit earlier and run a bit later or whatever. I don't know how you are, Boyd. Is that a possibility for you?
The 31st?
31st, yeah.
As of right now, yes, but but it's so hard
Similar.
for me to know. I'll put it in and make sure, because I actually didn't have the 31st for some reason. I have the 7th. But I just put in the 31st, so in theory that should be fine.
Okay. Yeah, because actually you wanted to do you had to say I think there was did you have a problem with the 14th? Was there an issue with the 14th?
Yeah, so the 14th we now need to be in rehearsal. So we were proposing whether we could make the 7th, which is obviously the progress review, into a practical, and then reschedule that progress meeting
to afterwards or something.
Or maybe even later that week.
Or let me just look at the 7th again. I know, Boyd, this is difficult for you to know.
I'm not available on the 7th because I have another rehearsal.
Sure.
Okay. The 7th is not good at the moment. Okay.
Are there any other?
Oh wait, no, are you talking September? Sorry.
September. Yeah.
Sorry. No, yeah, that 7th is good. Yeah, I have that listed.
Oh, great.
Sorry, I was looking at August.
Would it be to make that, Boyd, a practical session, so a 2.5 hour at some point during that day?
Yeah, that would be fine with me.
What about doing the? I'm just wondering whether it might be an opportunity. It'd be good to have a little chat, just for an hour before. I'm wondering whether there's any time available between the 31st and the 7th, just because it might be helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know, Boyd. I appreciate your diary's a bit up in the air because with the new job and everything starting, you don't know your program yet. But I'm just wondering whether there is any time that week, maybe the 3rd of September might be a possibility, just for an hour to catch up at some point instead of the 7th.
Schedule for my other work yet, but I'm almost always free from about 5 o'clock. So if we said 5 o'clock, I could contact the other work that I do today and be like, make sure that I'm not booked in from 5. It's a Friday. I don't know if that suits everybody though. It's a bit late.
That's fine for me.
Fine for me.
Yeah, that's I think Friday 5 o'clock. Friday 5 o'clock. I do have something. I normally
could go earlier. To be honest, it's very rare that schools want me in on a Friday, so could go like maybe 3 or 4.
That would be helpful. Would that be okay?
4 till 5 on Friday.
So Friday. What was it? Friday 3rd, isn't it?
3rd of September. Yeah, 4 till 5.
And we'll call that a progress review meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just take that out of there, put that in there. So that one, take that one then. We'll take that one out for the moment.
So that the 7th would become our practical, and the 14th would be gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 7th, and then just take that one out. 14th. That'll become the 7th. It'll be the 7th of September. And we'll make that the practical session. Is that okay? Would that be okay for everybody else?
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah,
In
the only
principle,
thing
yes.
I need to just tell my work is what times that would be. Because at the moment, I've said to them, I need to be home for 5. But obviously, if it's 2.5 hours, I imagine what would we make it sort of start at?
3 or something.
Do you want to start it in the afternoon at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
on the 7th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just juggling. I'll have to just double check with them before I can be like absolutely. But I can give them a call straight after this. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be 3.
Yeah.
So that'd be 3 till 5:30.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then your very final session was going to be on the 28th of September at 6 p.m.
Mm.
Now the performance itself might be half an hour, 20 minutes, who knows?
Mm.
And then so if the performance was at 8 p.m. That could give you a couple of hours to do some final rehearsing, just checking everything, and then we go straight into the performance at sort of 8 p.m. or 7:30, or I'm not sure what sort of time you would suggest. Up to you, really. But you won't need the whole 2.5 hours of it. But it's good to have that time before the performance, so we can test and check everything's all right and do all the sort of final adjustments and final run through.
Yeah.
And then go for the performance. But like I said, let's be as rehearsed as you can, but allow that potential for anything to happen.
We're used to
don't
live theatre. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It's fun. It's fun when it all goes like that.
Absolutely. The funnest Edinburgh shows were when everything fell apart.
Exactly.
Set falls down, your microphones turn off. So it's all good fun.
We're going for the best we can do, and in this situation, in the context we're working in, that's what we're doing.
And so, just now that we've removed the 14th, I guess there's a couple of week pause between our final practical session and then the performance, which I think is fine. It should be fine, as you say. We'll just be as rehearsed as we possibly can be. But yeah, does that feel all right, going from the 7th to the 28th without checking in?
A part of me would not mind something the week before, if there was just like an hour where we just do a tech run of the so that
that's what I was thinking.
Our show week is the only thing, so I don't know realistically whether we'll be able to do a dress run in that week. Would weekends be out of the question?
Well, it's the Monday or the Tuesday, so the 20th or the 21st, the week before. Is that a no-go with your work?
I have given them availability, because obviously then we're off for the show for 4 days for the show. So it's a bit tricky for me. I hopefully would have my schedule from them realistically in the next 2 weeks, but I think if I go back to them and say I can't do maybe 4 days, I think that might be a little bit tricky and unfair on them.
What about the day before the 28th? So what about the 27th? Just like a short tech run at some point.
Yeah, could do. Are you complete? So from the 7th to the 28th, you're completely you're in rehearsals for another theatre sort of performance. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, we're in rehearsals week commencing the 13th, and then it's show weeks. We've got like tech and get-ins and stuff on the week commencing the 20th. The 20th and the 21st I could potentially do, but I've said to my other work that I'm available then, and it might be a bit tricky for me to go back and be like, I can't do this. So I maybe should just wait until I hear from them, if that makes sense. Sorry that's not very flexible.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if we're meeting a couple hours before the show on the 28th anyway, that's probably sufficient. It was just a thought to do a pickup before, but I think if we make sure that, by the 14th, we've essentially got the show put together, and it's, we have an idea of where, all the different elements, and then I think it's doable.
There's the option, Boyd, as well, to just have Poppy and I, obviously we stumbled through the last session without Mol, and Mol, I'm aware that's not ideal, but if it was more for the tech side, just kind of running through bits,
Yeah.
there's the option to do it with just us two, and Molly, you can slot in depending on what your work is saying. So we could
I think
your date in for the 20th.
most likely I will have some time across either the 20th or the 21st. It's just that I can't say exactly when that is right now. But as soon as I have my schedule from them, I could come back. But I don't think that will be for probably about 2 weeks.
Well, I completely empathize right now, so that's fine
Yeah.
with me.
It's so hard.
Should we put in Poppy and Boyd, should we put in like a provisional time that would work for either of you on the 20th or the 21st?
Could I jump in and say I'm always available evenings, so I could definitely do it in the evening. It's school, so I would rarely, even if I'm in, bloody Suffolk or whatever, I'm still home by 5.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm happy to do evenings as well, but I mean, we can look at this again maybe later in September, and if we feel like we need another session between the 7th and the 28th, then we could maybe establish another date. Then we might know a bit more about our calendars. It might be a bit more helpful.
Right. Yeah.
Rather than put it in now.
I'd really love to do it. I think, that gap.
I think the thing is to think about the next 2 sessions as really the kind of the sort of the middle part where you're really going to put this together. So I think between now and the next session, you might want to think about exactly which scenes you want Boyd to be working with, because there were some, I think, in the last sessions, it was a kind of like, could use this, could use this, could use this. I think we need to sort of say, I want to use this image or that. You know what I mean? This is the environment I want to go with. Is that fair to say, Boyd, or did you feel that was more resolved?
I think I have a good idea of the environments. Now it's just a matter of building them. So that the other environments don't really require a full 3D set, so it shouldn't be, that those I can just kind of have you look at and get approval that they work. In a perfect world, I want to make some trap doors and some different things for the set, for those entrances that we talked about, and get some like there's some kind of goofy stuff I'd like to try out. But I think everything will have to be completely in place by the 14th, so that when we're running with what the actual content is. So I'll update you as I finish models and the backgrounds. But I think, because I think we've decided on the scenes themselves, right?
Yeah.
Okay, forgive me, I wasn't sure if they had made that decision exactly yet. Okay, that's fine then. In which case, it would be helpful if perhaps, Boyd, if you could just if possible, put those images together into a PDF, so they're like a storyboard. So they've everyone's got those exact scene images. Then I think maybe Poppy, Molly, Grace, you want to try and to take your script into that storyboard, and so you know exactly when everything is, when your lines are occurring in what scene, just so you've got it absolutely right, and you can work to that as your storyboard script. I think it would help move you forward. I think.
I'm happy to do that.
That'd be great. Thanks, Boyd. That'd be good.
We can
Boyd, did you mention
their lines and stuff like that? So
yeah. I just think it helps starting to build a kind of script. It's not something you can write in a sense, but it helps to have this visual storyboard, kind of borrowing from film and the theatre script together. It kind of helps you find a kind of the sort of the structure for it. So that'd be great. You try and get that done. And you mentioned, was it the 14th? Did you mean the 14th of August, Boyd? Were you talking about a date there? We'll be sure which dates we're talking about. Something about the 14th you mentioned, but we're not doing a 14th now, I don't think.
Oh, sorry. I erased that on my calendar. Sorry.
That's okay.
So we've got the 7th.
Oh
yeah. I was looking at my calendar, not yours. Okay. So 7th and then the 28th. Okay.
The next session's on the 23rd of August.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
7th. Sure.
And Boyd, quick question. In terms of us getting to you the little pre-recorded, the lip syncing, Jack the Lizard King laughing like a maniac. Is there a certain deadline? Because what we were hoping is to kind of after the next session just keep up our green screens and do the filming then. But we're also willing to to do another session if like just on our own doing recording, if you needed it before then.
If I could get it by, let me see, it'd be great if I could have everything in place for the 23rd rehearsal. So I would need at least a week. So the 16th would be, I guess, the best for me.
Cool.
Is that doable for you guys?
16th of August.
If I'm being brutally honest, girls, just because we've just done our scheduling, haven't we? I think that's probably unlikely because Poppy's on holiday for the whole of the week commencing the 9th. Unless we do the weekend, unless we do the 15th.
I'm back on the 12th, so I could do, yeah, I'm free from the 12th and Friday as well.
Yeah, let's hop on a Zoom after this.
Okay.
We'll make
do
that
that.
happen. Yeah, we'll make it happen.
When you would like pre-recordings, Boyd, sure. I'm putting that on my phone right now.
Awesome. That lights the fire up our bums as well. That's good.
Definitely.
Great, good stuff. Okay. All right. Well, look, it's now coming up to 4 o'clock. So it'll be an hour. So that's really good, really good. And I think we covered a lot of ground there, and just really more quite technicality things and sort of practical things in many ways. But I think conceptually, there's a really nice piece coming together that you're kind of working towards. I think it'd be good to try and get that into the next stage now. So the next 2 sessions feel like they are working with the material and the kind of script you want to work with. You can then really develop those scenes.
I think we're looking forward to feeling like rehearsing, you know, and kind of getting your teeth into it. Whereas it's been like we've been troubleshooting and having a lot of fun, and it's been amazing. But now I think, yeah, we can learn our lines and we can start really getting into it. But thank you, and thank you, Boyd, for all your hard work, because I think, as I was saying in the last practical session, you have really captured the vibe. And so I think it's just going to be a lot of fun, and we can start telling people about it and things like this. So.
Are you happy, Paul and Tom and Boyd all together, for us to start sort of talking about it on socials? And are we happy to just set a time of like?
Absolutely, yes. Oh, for the performance, yeah, absolutely. You get busy on that and let us know. We're more than happy for you to take a lead on all of that. So please do.
Great.
And Boyd, if there's anything I can help you with, I mean, we talked about all sorts of things like sounds and other things. I don't know whether I can help you with. Let me know, and maybe we could get together just to sort of to talk about how that might be best fed out of Zoom. I'm sure you know how to do it. It'd be good just for me to know the way we're going to do it. So I'm
definitely. Well, I used the graphics that you made with the fonts and everything are great, and you saw that they made it into the show. So yeah, I think we'll just find little details like that, and just to fill out that world visually. Yeah. But I just want to say, yeah, I'm really loving the concept, and all 3 of you are super fun, and I think it's gonna be really cool. So I'm excited to work with to keep going.
Yeah, great stuff. All right.
Thank you so much, people, and we'll see you soon then, and we'll get those bits over to you, Boyd, then before the 16th.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and just copy me in, Grace, when you do that.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. We'll work on that. Get that script. We'll get that storyboard together. That's the thing as well. We get the images and they start building the script and it's going to work too.
Did I share the Google Drive folder with the 3 of you, or is that just with you, Paul?
I think I have it. I have a Google Drive folder. Yes.
I'll share a link with you, so it might be easier. So I've got folders for different things, so I can so as you create content, it might just be easier to drop it there than it's syncing with our stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great idea.
That's great. Okay, wonderful.
Great. Okay, well, we'll see you again towards the end of. Well, we'll be hearing from each other. But,
yeah, I'll let you know as soon as my schedule gets confirmed.
Yeah.
So
I'll just send this. I'll send you this list of dates just to confirm all the dates that the changes we've made. So you've all got that.
Happy weekend, everyone.
Yeah, have a really good weekend, everyone.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.